Hello and welcome to Clay Pigeon Kart Club on the 8th of October 2023. It's time for the 5th round of the Counties Kart Club Championship, the penultimate round, and the Formula Blues are heading onto the grid for their final this afternoon. Going into this race, the championship standings are looking like this. Dave Watts leads the way on 9 points. 6 points clear of Harry Smithson in second, with Joey Foster and Anthony Cleal tied in third and fourth. Paul Alexander is going to round out the top 5 ahead of Steve Groves, Mike Bell, Max Gunter, David Waldron and Robin Stones completing the top 10. Rob Mortimer comes next ahead of Nigel Vickery, Kevin O'Neill, Mitch Carpenter and Kieran Quirk to round out the top 15. And with only this and one more round to go, it is entering crunch time. Not a lot of time left for moving and shaking. In the Blue Masters standings, it's Anthony Cleal leading the way by a slim point ahead of Joey Foster. Paul Alexander's third ahead of Steve Groves and David Waldron. Robin Stones in sixth ahead of Rob Mortimer, Nigel Vickery, Kevin O'Neill and Alex Kemp going to be completing the top 10 ahead of Chris Underhill, David Good, Chris Lord and Alex Fortune. In the Blue Veteran standings, Anthony Cleal leads the way on 3 points, 10 points clear of his closest challenger Paul Alexander. Steve Groves is third ahead of David Waldron, with Robin Stones completing the top 5. Rob Mortimer comes next after Nigel Vickery, Chris Underhill, David Good and Kevin O'Neill, with Chris Lord, Stuart Gray, Paul Weir, John Hartshorn and Mark Cook completing the top 15. In the Blue Legend standings, it's Robin Stones leading the way ahead of Kevin O'Neill. Chris Underhill still in third spot, tied with David Good, and Chris Lord completes the top 5. Paul Alexander still heads the top weight standings ahead of David Waldron, with Rob Mortimer in third ahead of Stuart Adam and Tom Parker. Already today we have had 3 heats in the books. Heat 1 was won by Dave Watts ahead of Anthony Cleal and Harry Smithson, with Paul Alexander fourth and Mitch Carpenter completing the top 5. Rob Mortimer comes next ahead of Alex Fortune, David Waldron, Steve Groves and Joey Foster rounding out the top 10 after some struggles. Heat 2 was also won by Dave Watts, this time ahead of Joey Foster. Anthony Cleal third ahead of Robin Stones and Paul Alexander, with Steve Groves sixth ahead of David Waldron, Rob Mortimer, Alex Fortune and Mitch Carpenter completing the top 10. And the third and final heat of the day was actually won on track by Harry Smithson but was disqualified, so the win going to Joey Foster ahead of Anthony Cleal, Dave Watts, Nigel Vickery, Steve Groves, David Waldron, Robin Stones, Mike Bell, Alex Fortune and Rob Mortimer completing the top 10. As the grid heads out on track for the final, led away by the O-Plate Dave Watts, and alongside him on the front row is Anthony Cleal. Joey Foster starts third ahead of Steve Groves and David Waldron, with Paul Alexander, Rob Mortimer, Robin Stones, Alex Fortune and Mitch Carpenter completing the top 10 ahead of Harry Smithson and Nigel Vickery, with the grid rounded out by Mike Bell and David Good, both having problems throughout the day. And you can see there was a struggle to start on the grid. It looked like Robin Stones potentially not got going. It also looks like Alex Fortune is struggling to get up to speed there, the number 50. He's looking at the carburettor. Hopefully he can get that sorted, because the grid is already halfway around the rolling lap. Dave Watts setting the pace as they head through the horseshoe. Now round buttons the penultimate corner and up towards pit bend. You can see the grid still stretched out at the back, but hopping on board with Harry Smithson, the gap is going to close up. And round pit bend, keep an eye on Watts, keep an eye on Cleal, and keep an eye on the lights as we head towards the start of the penultimate final of the year. And there's contact already as Paul Alexander off. It looked like he tangled with Steve Groves, and Alexander gets left behind as the pack heads down to Billy's Blind. It's Watts leading from Cleal, Foster, Waldron and Mortimer as they head through the chicane. And now up the Sturmey straight there, that's Nigel Vickery on the back of the pack, but Harry Smithson already making moves, looking down the inside of number 26, Mitch Carpenter, as they head through the horseshoe. And that is Steve Groves grinding to a halt in the chicane, so a problem for Groves as well as the pack goes through buttons. And rounding pit bend to end a chaotic first lap, it's Watts leading from Foster and Cleal battling in behind. Then there's David Waldron in the yellow, Rob Mortimer and Harry Smithson coming next, and down the inside goes the Praga, number 16 of Harry Smithson in Billy's Blind. The move is made as the chicane under yellow flags as Groves drags his car out of the way. And round now through the Han hairpin, Dave Watts leading the way and starting to open up a bit of a gap as they're passing Alex Fortune, who's still not got running correctly, as he's going to move aside and let the pack go through. As we hop on board with Rob Mortimer, up ahead is Smithson. He's already looking at David Waldron. That's Mike Bell looking at Mitch Carpenter further back. Nigel Vickery's going to follow Bell through, and the moves getting made at pit bend. And Smithson hanging on down the inside of David Waldron, and that's a move for fourth for Harry Smithson already. He's flown up the order. Through the chicane they go, still under yellow flag, so nothing doing there. Now at the hand hairpin, Joey Foster pressuring Anthony Cleal in the battle for second and third. Then there's a big midfield train. David Good trying to keep in touch as well further back. It's through the horseshoe and through buttons they go. Mitch Carpenter hanging on to the back of Nigel Vickery. And Vickery pressuring Mike Bell already. So the number 51 on the move. And looks like Bell's not happy with something as he's falling back on the straight, and through goes Vickery down the inside into Billy's blind, and the Welshman makes the place. As they head through the chicane, Vickery's next target is number 42 of Rob Mortimer. But further up the track, Anthony Cleal still defending from Joey Foster. Then it's Waldron, Mortimer, Vickery, Bell and Carpenter battling in behind. And Harry Smithson looking to try and bridge up to that battle for second place. The four main championship protagonists out at the front of the race. And then in fifth place, number 5, David Waldron leading the next pack. As Nigel Vickery on the move, already on the tail of Rob Mortimer, and down the inside he goes. Nothing doing there though, as through the chicane, Anthony Cleal still hanging on against Joey Foster, and sure enough Rob Mortimer has held off Nigel Vickery for another lap. He's down through the horseshoe, goes the battle for second. The two Mac Minarellis, both with the black bodywork, battling it out for second, and then the train for fifth further back. And Dave Watts starting to break away out at the front, but Harry Smithson rapidly closing that gap to the battle for second. Nigel Vickery still looking like he's going to try down the inside of Rob Mortimer at the kink. Is he going to clear him? And sure enough he does, gets back across, takes the line into Billy's blind. Good move there from Vickery. As we hop on board with Harry Smithson, that's Joe Foster up ahead of us in the number 66, down the inside of Anthony Cleal. So Foster makes the move for second spot, and further back Mike Bell in the number 2, down passing Rob Mortimer. But that is Foster now up to second as they head around pit bend. Dave Watts starting to break away even more now that they're battling, and Harry Smithson well and truly on that battle. Further back, Nigel Vickery on the tail of David Waldron, and he's got the run once again, looking to try and pull a repeat of what he did against Mortimer, but no cigar there. Waldron covering the inside line. And through the chicane we go. Waldron runs a bit deep. Vickery's got a good exit, but Waldron covering that inside line down the middle of the road. No way through there for Vickery. Bell right in behind as well now, as they're going to run side by side once again. As the battle for second through buttons and into pit bend. Joe Foster leading the way. Anthony Cleal, the Blue Challenge champion, in behind, and Harry Smithson, his main contender, tucked up tight behind as well, as they're three as close as that. You could throw a blanket over them as they go through the chicane. Further back there is Vickery sliding wide, and Mike Bell's going to take advantage up the inside. Bell in the blue suit, number 2, through the chicane up to 6th ahead of Nigel Vickery. Now Rob Mortimer and Mitch Carpenter looking to line him up, but Harry Smithson down the inside into the horseshoe. Good move there for this Praga up to 3rd. As through buttons we go and into pit bend, and Joey Foster's run wide. Joey Foster's into the pits. No idea what that would be for, but Joey Foster is out of the race from second place. That's going to promote everybody up a pot, and down the start straight they go, and Harry Smithson now up to second. Anthony Cleal still in 3rd, and that's going to promote David Waldron up to 4th, and this entire battle going to move up a spot as they go through the chicane once again up the Sturmey straight, as the leader, as the battle for second heading into the infield section. Mitch Carpenter looking all over the back of Rob Mortimer, number 26 and 42 at the back of this 5-cart train. Nigel Vickery fall in to 3rd. As there's the leader, Dave Watts round Billy's blind. Harry Smithson in 2nd, looking to try and close the gap and break away from Anthony Cleal. And then there's Waldron in the yellow ahead of Mike Bell and Nigel Vickery, and Mitch Carpenter getting closer and closer to that back bumper of Rob Mortimer as up the Sturmey straight they go. As Waldron's going to slide wide, Mike Bell's looking to try and get up underneath on exit, but not able to get an overlap. But now he's switched back through the horseshoe and looking to challenge up through buttons. Up towards pit bend they go. And Mike Bell looking for a much tighter exit. He's going to try and draw up alongside David Waldron. but he's not got the top end speed. And here comes Nigel Vickery with a big run, number 51, down the inside into Billy's blind. Not quite able to get a nose up the inside. Mike Bell hanging on around the outside, but it's all to play for at the moment. Mitch Carpenter still chasing Rob Mortimer in behind, as now into the hand hairpin they go. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 through the horseshoe, and now up to buttons once again. Bell strong through this section of circuit. Nigel Vickery trying to go with him. Once again, Bell looking to get the run on David Waldron round top bend, but Vickery gets a big exit. And you can see he's closed the gap, closed the gap, closed the gap. He's drawn alongside Bell and up the inside into Billy's blind. Bell going to try and hang on round the outside once again, but Vickery up through the chicane. Good move there from Nigel Vickery, number 51. Now they're battling all over the back bumper of David Waldron. That's allowing Waldron to break away ever so slightly. And can they reel him back in? He's in behind. Carpenter still looking for any way through past Rob Mortimer. He's round pit bend once again. Vickery looking quick, looking aggressive. He's chasing down David Waldron. And that gap coming down and down and down into Billy's blind they go. Slightly different lines, but no real time gain as they head through the chicane. And Mike Bell back into this fight once again. Further back, that's Paul Alexander. He's recovered from his lap 1 accident and he's catching David Good. So still things to play for all over the order at the moment. Waldron defending through buttons once again, and you can see it's compromising his line up towards pit bend, and Vickery's all over him. Mitch Carpenter likewise on Rob Mortimer, but right now it's Vickery looking to the inside for Billy's blind. Choosing to back out of it. Waldron going to hold the position. Through the chicane they go. 3 in a line. And in fact, Bell getting such a good run nearly touches the back of Vickery. Vickery losing a bit of grip through that chicane. And David Waldron, it still leads this trio as through the horseshoe they go once again. And there is David Good. Paul Alexander's caught up to him. And that battle will proceed. And there's Mitch Carpenter and Rob Mortimer starting to fall off the back of Bell, Vickery and Waldron, but still in touch with each other as we go through the chicane once again. And Vickery, oh, the wheels come off! Vickery around over the curb, does a spin, manages to not hit the wall, and that's going to throw the yellow flag out in the chicane once again. So Paul Alexander going to have to try and line David Good up, and sure enough he does, down the inside towards the hand hairpin. No yellow flag there, and through goes Alexander. Well timed move. David Good looking to try and fight back on the outside, but nothing doing there though. But that is Nigel Vickery out of the race and out of nowhere, as Alexander and Good rounding pit bend. They're going to head down to start another lap. There's Vickery, he's okay, just pushing the cart back to safety. And the race can continue. And while we've been watching that, Harry Smithson has been taking some chunks out of Dave Watts for the lead of the race. 2 minutes 20 left on the clock. It's going to be a big ask, but that gap is coming down. Will we see it get smaller before the end of the race? There's David Waldron. He's still hanging on in 4th position. Mike Bell in behind. Then Rob Mortimer starting to break away from Mitch Carpenter. And there's Vickery. You can see he was on a good run, frustrated there, but it looks to be okay, and that's the main thing. As the leaders, Dave Watts rounding pit bend, and Harry Smithson definitely getting a lot closer on that last lap or two. Coming down across the line, 1 minute 40 still on the clock. And Dave Watts, he might have been taking it a bit easy, he might have been thinking the race was over, but Smithson with a late race push is closing that gap. And that gap still coming down for 4th place. It's David Waldron and Mike Bell. Bell struggling on straight line speed, but is closing in through the infield section. So it's a real ebb and flow battle. In behind, Mitch Carpenter still stalking Rob Mortimer. Not quite close enough to make a move yet though, as here we are on board with Bell into the hand hairpin. Running much tighter than Waldron as we head through towards the horseshoe. And here's the lead. That gap even smaller now. Harry Smithson is charging as Waldron and Bell rounding pit bend. Once again, that gap coming down through the majority of the lap and then getting bigger on the straights. And here's some camera work from Nigel Vickery as the leaders head through the horseshoe once again, through Buttons and up towards pit bend. It's Dave Watts still leading the 4-time on the bounce O-plate. Harry Smithson chasing him down, the Blue Challenge runner-up. And they both head in towards Buttons now. That gap almost halved in the lap, it seems, as David Good ahead of them could provide another twist in the tail of this race. As down to the hand hairpin, and Smithson, you can see he's looking for an opportunity to try and get the nose of the Praga up alongside the Tony Kart of Watts. As round Buttons once more, time still ticks away as there's Paul Alexander out of pit bend. David Good running wide to let the leaders through, and Harry Smithson is using that to pounce. Watts looks over his shoulder, has to do a double take because Smithson's there. And the timer, I believe, hit 0. That could have been the last lap board. We'll soon find out. And Watts, covering the inside for the chicane, doesn't want to let Smithson even have half a chance. As down the stormy straight they go into the hand hairpin. It's bumper to bumper stuff. Smithson looking to pull up alongside, but he's going to have to go the long way around the horseshoe. Nothing doing there though, but he's going to try and switch back as they head through Buttons. Watts on a much tighter defensive line up to pit bend. This is really going to be decided on the sprint to the finish. As out of pit bend they go, and Smithson's going to draw alongside, head down. It is the last lap, the checker flag's out, and who's going to get it? It looked like it was Watts, but by such a close margin. We'll have to go and look at the timing for the results there. Meanwhile, the race still going on. David Waldron and Mike Bell bumper to bumper stuff through pit bend. Bell looking for an exit once again. He's going to look to draw alongside Waldron, but Waldron's got the top end to hold him off to round out the top 5. In behind there, Mitch Carpenter just coming up short against Rob Mortimer as well. So good racing for the mid-pack. There's Paul Alexander recovering to finish after a contact and being in the barrier even before the race had started. Well, an eventful race that was for sure, and it was won by Dave Watts, the O-plate, taking the win by 0.03 of a second ahead of Harry Smithson, going up 9 places into second. Anthony Cleal would round out the top 3 ahead of David Waldron and Mike Bell to complete the top 5. Rob Mortimer comes next ahead of Mitch Carpenter, Paul Alexander, David Good and Nigel Vickery after the studs on his rear wheel snapped off. He's going to be completing the top 10. Joey Foster in early after a puncture. Steve Groves and Alex Fortune both having issues early in the race, and a non-start from Robin Stones is going to complete our results for this afternoon. What that'll do to the championship standings, Dave Watts going to hold the lead still with a perfect score, 9 points on the board. Anthony Cleal is going to move into second ahead of Joey Foster with Harry Smithson in 4th. Paul Alexander is going to complete the top 5 ahead of Steve Groves, David Waldron and Mike Bell, with Rob Mortimer and Robin Stones completing the top 10. Nigel Vickery is going to move into 11th ahead of Mitch Carpenter, with Max Gunter, David Good and Kevin O'Neill completing the top 15 heading into the final round of the 2 county season. In the Blue Master standings is Anthony Cleal continuing to lead the way ahead of Joey Foster, Paul Alexander in 3rd still ahead of Steve Groves and David Waldron, Rob Mortimer 6th ahead of Robin Stones, Nigel Vickery, David Good and Kevin O'Neill to complete the top 10, with Alex Fortune, Alex Kemp, Chris Underhill, Chris Lord and Stuart Gray completing the top 15 in the Blue Masters. In the Blue Veteran standings, Anthony Cleal with another perfect score continues to lead the way ahead of Paul Alexander and Steve Groves, David Waldron in 4th ahead of Rob Mortimer, with Robin Stones, Nigel Vickery, David Good, Chris Underhill and Kevin O'Neill completing the top 10. In the last of the age-related subclasses, it's the Blue Legend standings, and it is Robin Stones continuing to lead the way, with David Good moving up to 2nd ahead of Kevin O'Neill, Chris Underhill and Chris Lord completing the top 5. And in the Blue Top Weights, Paul Alexander with another perfect score ahead of Rob Mortimer. David Waldron coming in underweight for the top weight limit. He's going to drop to 3rd position ahead of Stuart Adam. And that will round out the action from Clay Pigeon this afternoon. Join us again next time for the Indy Blue TNT race from Mansell Raceway. We will see you then. Goodbye.
I've been there a while.
Oh, Nigel's wheel. Holy shit.
What happened to his wheel?
I was on his back bumper and his wheel fell off.
Yeah?
Going through the chicane. No.
Oh, is that what it was?